The second educational module focuses on exploring values. Alpha Kappa Psi has a set of core values, but how do they mesh with your personal values? The module also looks at what it means to be a leader, and specifically covers an introduction to servant leadership. Beginning with Module 2, every module moving forward will start with 1 or 2 officer introductions. They should briefly share about their role so the pledges can start to understand the officer structure and responsibilities. Pledges can ask questions about their roles and their experiences. There is no schedule for what officers should attend what meeting, so work with your officers to make a schedule that works for them. The only recommendation is to have the Master of Rituals before the midterm interview if possible. The first activity has pledges determine their own personal values. Whether using the module PowerPoint or another list of values, provide the pledge class with a sample list. Give them about 3 minutes to narrow it down to their top 10. If a value they identify with isn't listed, they can add it. After narrowing it to 10, give them only 2 minutes to narrow it further down to only 5 values. This isn't an easy task, so discuss what was harder, selecting the top 10 values to begin with, or narrowing it down to 5. As personal values can tell you a lot about a person, allow the pledges time to share them with each other and why they selected them. Once they have an understanding of their own values, pledges should be introduced to the fraternities. Alpha Kappa Psi's core values and vision are the public declaration of what we stand for as an organization. Our fraternity is a brotherhood based on these values. While our members live by our core values, as an organization, we need to have a clear idea of where we are going and where we want to be in the future. By creating and following a vision statement, we are stating in a clear and concise manner what our programs, services, and resources will support. If you lose sight of our values and vision, then you lose sight of the purpose of being a member in Alpha Kappa Psi. Share with the pledge class the core values in the fraternity's vision and talk about how they connect to their personal values. How do we exemplify and live our core values? With a vision of developing principled business leaders, it brings to question whether we know what good leadership is. The next activity challenges our perspectives. Have pledges take out a sheet of paper and answer the following questions without looking them up online. Name the 5 highest paid celebrities. Name the CEOs of the 5 largest U.S. companies. Name 5 U.S. House of Representatives. Give them a few minutes, but not many are likely to have the answers. Instead, change gears and ask them to name the answers to the following questions. Name someone who has put your needs above their own. Name 3 friends who have helped you through a difficult time. Name someone who made you feel that your opinion was valued. Using the activity as a starting point, talk about which list was easier to answer and why. What characteristics are greater indicators of leadership? There are many different leadership philosophies, but Alpha Kappa Psi places an emphasis specifically on servant leadership. To close out this module, introduce the pledges to servant leadership by sharing and discussing the characteristics of servant leaders. To promote servant leadership, have the pledge class submit acts of servant leadership throughout the remainder of the pledge process and share them at the end of each module. This will encourage them to not only be servant leaders themselves, but to recognize acts of service, both large and small. Before leaving, remind the pledges to continue studying for the terminal exam, begin looking for contacts to complete the informational interview, and to create or update the resume. If it hasn't already occurred, the Big Brother reveal should be held prior to the 3rd module. For additional questions, contact your chapter educational resource coordinator or regional management team.